Hello aspirants. Looking at current affairs for 13th March, the news item picked up from the Hindu newspaper are these 11. We'll look at them in detail. The first one, 49 killed in Nepal plane crash. So actually a Bangladeshi plane crashed and burst into flames near Kathmandu airport in Nepal, and this is said to be the worst aviation disaster to hit Nepal in nearly 3 decades. So this was US Bangla Airlines airport in which 71 people were on board and it crashed. And it is said, the preliminary information which is there, it seems that there was miscommunication between the air traffic control at Kathmandu airport and the pilot of the aircraft. So there is one runway here. Kathmandu has this only one runway, and it was runway 02 and 020. Means the two ends of the runway are so named, and there was confusion about how the aircraft should land, and it resulted in this crash while landing. So this is a disaster which has struck the neighboring country. Then next, another issue on disaster management is regarding this forest fire in Theni district in Tamil Nadu. So here in the Bodhi hills here of Theni district of Tamil Nadu, trekkers were trapped and they died due to forest fire. There are 10 people so far who have been confirmed dead. So the victims here sustained third-degree burns, and doctors are battling to save their lives. Scientists from even Madras Institute of Technology are deploying drones, unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, to help rescuers take a safer path to reach the victims. So even the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu has announced a probe into illegal trekking. So these were trekkers who have succumbed to this disaster. So these illegal trekkers, it was actually an all-woman expedition organized by Chennai Trekking Club, and also an Erode-based Tour de India Holidays firm also organized such illegal treks. The Theni forest official said there's only one official trekking route, and the one which they took was not the official trekking route available in the Bodhi hills. So this has resulted in this another disaster, forest fire. Then next is Maharashtra CM bows to demands of farmers. So this is regarding the farmers rally which had reached the Legislative Assembly of Maharashtra. So here the 15,000 farmers and tribal people who were led by All India Kisan Sabha had marched 200 kilometers to reach the capital of Maharashtra, Mumbai, at the Vidhan Bhavan. So here they assembled less than 2 kilometers from the Vidhan Bhavan. The actual plan was to gherao the Vidhan Bhavan, but then this gherao plan was dropped. There were negotiations, discussions between the government and the representatives of the farmers, and the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Devendra Fadnavis, has announced that the negotiations which have taken place after that, assurances have been given and demands have been accepted. So what were these demands? We'll look into it. The Maharashtra government has said that within 6 months, a 6-month roadmap would be framed out to address the agrarian distress, and the demands would be fulfilled. So the demands are listed down here, you can see, which have been accepted. So there will be an unconditional loan waiver program which will include categories of farmers which were earlier excluded. So one is loan waiver. Second is implementation of Swaminathan Commission report, which includes higher compensation for land acquisition. So this will also be there. Then rupees 50,000 compensation would be there for farmers affected by natural calamities. Then land would be given to those who have received title areas lesser than their eligibility. This is there. Then even a sensitive approach would be there to land acquisition for bullet train and property corridor projects. The Forest Rights Act of 2006 would be implemented. So the claims of ownership for landless tribals would be settled. So this Forest Rights Act we have discussed in detail yesterday. So you should know about that. And finally, even providing ration cards quickly for those who have lost or damaged them. And also it has been assured that in the meantime too, they won't be denied rations, and their complaints would be personally overseen by the Chief Secretary of Maharashtra. Then next is 6-month deadline for 2G case probes. So the Supreme Court has directed the CBI and Enforcement Directorate to complete investigation into all 2G spectrum scam cases, including the Aircel-Maxis deal case, within 6 months. So the the judiciary here, Justice Arun Mishra, is actually questioning who is part of this bench. He is questioning that why this very important case is taking so much time. Why is investigation taking so long? What are the reasons for the delay? Is there anybody behind the delay? It's a very important case and the country should know the results. So this is being demanded. The case also, it has come forth before this bench of the Supreme Court after a gap of 4 years. So the agencies have to file a status report now in 2 weeks. So the CAG had actually highlighted this 2G spectrum scam. So the questions raised by CAG need answers. So the investigation has to be completed as soon as possible now. So it is the allegations which the investigators are examining are that former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram ignored FIPB, Foreign Investment Promotion Board regulations, and cleared the foreign investment proposal in 2006 for a Mauritius-based company to acquire Aircel, the telecom service provider. So 73.99% equity was acquired by a Mauritius company in 2006. So this is to be looked into. BJP leader Subramaniam Swamy is party to the Supreme Court litigation. He has alleged that investment worth 3,500 crore was, the investment was of this much worth, and the then Finance Minister P. Chidambaram had granted his approval without even getting clearance from Prime Minister-led Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. So such are the allegations. You should know the details about the 2G spectrum. The details as such are provided here, you can see. So it was in 2007 that telecom ministry was taken over by A. Raja. So he was the telecom minister, and allotment of 2G spectrum licenses was initiated in 2007 by Department of Telecom. The telecom ministry issued a press note fixing a deadline for applications as such. So this applications were 575 applications were as such received, and the Prime Minister wrote to A. Raja directing him to ensure allotment of 2G spectrum in a fair and transparent manner as such too. But the licenses were issued on a first come first served basis. So even the cutoff date was preponed. So this actually became the controversial aspect, that why first come first served basis was used, why not auctioning, and why the cutoff date was preponed. So this is there. Then on later, Department of Telecom announced on its website that those applying between an hour would be issued licenses. So this is how it was done. Then the case in 2008, you can see Swan Telecom, Unitech and Tata Teleservices sold off part of their stakes at much higher rates to other companies. So they had acquired telecom spectrum and then later they sold it off at higher rates. So the government suffered and those who acquired at low rates earned very much. So this private sector company is earned. So CAG gave its report in 2010 in the 2G spectrum case, in which stated that 1.75 lakh crores of rupees was deprived to the exchequer because of this 2G spectrum allocation, which was done in a very controversial manner. Then later, A. Raja resigned as telecom minister. Subramaniam Swamy, he approached the Supreme Court seeking cancellation of 2G licenses, and then even arrests took place. A. Raja was arrested as such too. And then even this Swan Telecom promoter was arrested. Then the case arguments began in the case as such. Then even a special court in which the arguments were taking place, the Finance Minister P. Chidambaram was also made a co-accused. Then special CBI court found prima facie evidence against accused like A. Raja, and then the trial continued. And in 2012, finally, the Supreme Court has cancelled all 123 licenses which were allotted during A. Raja's tenure, and even fine has been imposed on these 3 telecom companies which had sold off at much higher prices. But the case continues as such too, though the licenses were cancelled, and finally it came out that CBI couldn't prove that A. Raja along with telecom ministry officials had manipulated the cutoff date or the first come first serve policy as such. So they could not prove this as such, and also it failed to establish that A. Raja had prior familiarity with the other accused private sector promoters who were involved. And also documentary evidence and witness testimony couldn't prove that accused ignored ineligibility of the companies as such too. So because CBI couldn't prove the cases, it could not link Raja to the money transfer which was done. And the money trail, illegal gratification could not be established as such too. And because of this lapses in the investigation, the case fell off and the proof as such, the accused could not be convicted. And this is regarding the Aircel-Maxis deal too. So this case actually predates even the 2G spectrum allocation case. This is regarding Aircel, a telecom company. So its sister concern actually applied for licensing providing telecom services in UP and other circles. So this license application as such was not acted upon. Various procedural requirements were put forth and Aircel was denied telecom license. So then telecom minister, communication and IT minister was Mr. Dayanidhi Maran in 2004. So this Aircel company till 2005 it was not able to acquire licenses. In December 2005, Aircel and Maxis, a telecom company from Malaysia, they announced a deal that Aircel and its sister concern would be sold off to Maxis. So this announcement took place in 2005 December, and in Jan 2006, Dayanidhi Maran, the communication minister, he scrapped all those procedures which he had used to block licenses to Aircel. And when this, and also it is said that this merger as such also took place, and the letter of intent for licenses which was granted later. So after this deal, means Maxis is owning the firm. So then the licenses were granted. And this granting of licenses took place even without seeking mandatory recommendations from TRAI. So this is the allegation. Dayanidhi Maran is also an owner in having a stake in Sun Direct TV Private Limited. So here it is stated a sister concern of Maxis also got Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs approval to invest $150 million in this company. So this is the Aircel-Maxis deal, which is again under the scanner. Then next is Supreme Court seeks data on child sex abusers. So this is the case of an 8-month-old rape survivor from Delhi who is battling for life at AIIMS. The Supreme Court has now ordered a nationwide inquiry into how many child sex abusers have actually been punished. So actually the case which is there before the Supreme Court, it is said that National Crime Records Bureau, the petitioner is claiming, it's a PIL petition which has been filed. So it is said National Crime Records Bureau statistics say that there is 95% pendency rate in the child sex abuse cases. So that is why now the Supreme Court actually is demanding data from high courts about pendency in cases of child abuse, with those which are booked under POCSO, Prevention of Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act of 2012. So the high courts have to provide this data. The Supreme Court has given them a deadline for completion of these cases as such too. So a fresh and independent data collected by teams constituted under the supervision of Chief Justices of High Courts is being demanded. So status of these cases has to be seen. So then the Supreme Court will set a deadline for completion of trials. There are special courts which are set up to look into these cases under the POCSO Act. So 4 weeks time has been given to the high courts to submit data to the Supreme Court registry. So here under POCSO you should see the special provisions are that a child is defined as a person below the age of 18 years. It is gender neutral act. It does not differentiate between a boy or a girl child victim. Special courts have to be established to look into these cases. Complete recording of the evidence of child within 1 month. Also complete trial of offences should take place within 1 year. This is the requirement under the Act. Even punishments vary from fines and imprisonment from 6 months to even life imprisonment. Also, death sentence is being sought into these cases as such too. But the POCSO Act calls for maximum life imprisonment. There are various categories of offences which are listed down in punishments for them respectively. Also, reporting of commitment of such an offence is also mandatory. There are mandatory requirements that such cases should be reported. Also, there's punishment for failure to report case as such too, and even punishment for false complaint. Then next is Supreme Court admits plea on lawmaker lawyers. So the Supreme Court has admitted a PIL petition to ban MPs and MLAs from practicing as lawyers. So this is a petition which has been filed, PIL petition. So even the Bar Council of India has been asked to respond on this by April 23. So the petitioner claims that this MPs, MLAs being allowed to work as lawyers is violation of Rule 49 of Bar Council of India Act. So here advocates are forbidden from being full-time salaried employees of any person, government, firm, corporation as such. So as long as they are practicing, they cannot be salaried employees. And also, it is said that since these lawyers are also MPs and MLAs, they have their salaries and pensions coming from the exchequer too. The government, they get salary as such too. So this is being put forth as why they should not be allowed to function as lawyers. Also, Prevention of Corruption Act, under it also MPs and MLAs are considered as public servants. So, and also the petitioner claims that this is professional misconduct because MPs and MLAs who get salaries and benefits from the government are appearing in cases against the government. So such points are put forth by the petitioner. The Supreme Court has admitted his petition, and now hearing would take place on this matter, whether MPs and MLAs should be allowed to function as lawyers or not. Then next is 1 spoon less of salt, sugar, oil, doctor's orders. So the Indian Medical Association has come up with this recommendation that a teaspoon less of salt, sugar and oil should be a mantra which should be adopted so that lifestyle diseases can be tackled. Because excessive consumption of these three commodities is linked to severe life-threatening lifestyle diseases like obesity, hypertension, diabetes, and even chronic kidney diseases. So even like high blood pressure is linked to excessive salt consumption, heart disease as such also, and then kidney ailments as such too. It is said that 40% of chronic kidney disease patients are diabetics also, and some have even both BP and diabetes. So salt and sugar intake play a key role here. Oil intake plays a key role in obesity as such too, which can lead to even high blood pressure and diabetes. So these three ingredients are linked to nearly every major lifestyle disease. So that's why the Indian Medical Association has come up with this recommendation that at least have a teaspoon less of these now. And World Health Organization has already prescribed that per person per day should have maximum 1 teaspoon of salt, 6 to 8 teaspoons of sugar, and 4 teaspoons of oil. So this is there. But Indian Medical Association says that Indian consumption is much higher than what World Health Organization prescribes. Then next is S-400 deal may be finalized by March 31. So India and Russia are expected to sign one of these biggest defense deals between the two. This is for the purchase of S-400 Trump, which is a long-range air defense system. So this is a surface-to-air missile defense system. So India is planning to buy 5 such systems, and already an intergovernmental agreement has been concluded for buying these 5 S-400 term systems. The agreement came in 2016, and now the contract negotiations are going on. Commercial contract will be concluded soon. It is expected to cost around 39,000 crores. And it is considered one of the most potent surface-to-air missile defense system in the world. It can track and shoot down a range of incoming airborne targets, and the range of up to 400 kilometers can be targeted. So even India, it has been stated by Russia that there cannot be any offset clause in this because this is a strategic system which has been sold. So the offset clause which we have seen in various defense deals is that whatever earnings takes place, like 39,000 crore would be paid. So whatever payment is done, a percentage of it should be offset, means it should be coming back, invested back into the country. in India. So Russia has already made it clear that this deal should not have any offset clause. So we'll see the finalization of deal will come soon. So S-400 is very beneficial for India because then we'll be able to track Pakistani aircrafts even when they are flying in our airspace, in their airspace. So this is there. Also, China has signed a $3 billion deal for acquiring 6 S-400 systems in 2014, and now delivery has started to China. Turkey has also signed agreement for 2 such systems from Russia. So this is the S-400 TRAMPH, long-range air defense system. So a surface-to-air missile which can attack UAVs, drones, cruise missiles, etc. Its range, maximum range up to 400 kilometers. So it's completely automated right from target acquisition to final engagement. So it is widely considered as a 4th generation system in terms of its combat capabilities. So this will be acquired by India too now. Then next is IIP quickens to 7.5%, inflation softens. So this is regarding IIP, Index of Industrial Production. So the index IIP data for the month of January has shown a growth of 7.5%, which is better than last month's data of growth of 7.07%. So this is because of manufacturing growth being strong, and the consumer durables have also shown a rebound. Now another index is CPI, Consumer Price Index. So IIP shows manufacturing, in industrial development as such. CPI shows reflects retail inflation, Consumer Price Index. So Consumer Price Index has also gone down to 4.4% in Feb 2018. For the last 2 months, it was above 5%. But now, since food and fuel prices are easing, we are seeing CPI inflation has also eased. PMI, Purchasing Managers Index, which is through private sector data. For the month of February, this data had shown that Purchasing Managers Index is going down. So this is a cause of concern. So here all these are shown in detail, you can see. So this is IIP, Index of Industrial Production. So its growth as such over the months is shown here till Jan 2018, where it has come to 7.5%. So it is better than last month's data. And IIP, you should know, it has 3 major components under it. That is Index of Industrial Production, having manufacturing, mining and electricity. So even the growth in each of these compared to last year on a year-on-year basis, means how was it in Jan 2017 to how is it in Jan 2018 is shown here. So overall, it has improved, manufacturing has improved, mining has gone low, and electricity has also improved. Base year for IIP is 2011-12. And within IIP, we have even, this is one major classification into 3 segments. And then there is also something called 8 core sectors in the IIP. So these 8 core sectors overall take up 40.27% weightage in IIP, Index of Industrial Production. And this growth in each of these sectors compared to last year's data is shown here. So you should know about these 8 core sectors too, which are they? Coal, crude oil, natural gas, refinery products, fertilizers, steel, cement and electricity. So that is also shown, and this is 6.7%, the 8 core sectors growth. And overall growth of IIP we saw for the month of Jan is 7.5%. And this is regarding CPI also. CPI inflation easing down to 4.4% in Feb 2018. But food-related inflation has also come down, is also shown. This is regarding IIP2, which we saw for Jan 2018, 7.5%. And this is within IIP also, consumer durables have fared well. And this is regarding PMI, Services PMI and Manufacturing PMI, Purchasing Managers Index. So this is a private sector data which is collected on a monthly basis. So for services and manufacturing and overall, all 3 are shown for recent months. So this is the Feb data. So you can see that overall PMI has gone below 50. So below 50 shows contraction in the sector. The services has gone quite low. The manufacturing is above 50, but overall services going down drags it down. So So this is Purchasing Managers Index data. Then next is RBI fixes cap of 1 year for trade finance instruments. So in yesterday's news, we discussed letters of undertaking or even standby letters of credits which are given for trade financing. We had seen that trade financing is one area in which major cases of such frauds and willful defaults have taken place. So now RBI has come up with guidelines for these. The guidelines are actually being tightened for trade financing areas. So when such standby letters of credit or guarantees are issued, banks, as we saw, Punjab National Bank had issued such guarantees. So this can be issued for a maximum period of 1 year now, according to RBI guidelines. And also this should be in return of making a remittance of margin money for commodity hedging transactions. And the banks should ensure that these guarantees used by their clients are for the intended purposes only. This money should not be used for some other purpose. Maximum it should be for 1 year. Because in Nirav Modi case, we saw that he had these letters of undertaking issued by the Punjab National Bank, and this went on by, of course, the bank managers here were involved, and they were getting letters of undertaking without proper records or guarantees for many years, for last many years. So that is why such things should not take place. That's why now RBI has come with strict guidelines that this should be only for letters of undertaking, should be for only 1 year, and also it should be used for intended purposes, and the banks should ensure that there are guarantees also behind. So this is there. So these letters of undertaking are used actually for for overseas markets. So when like in the case of Nirav Modi, we saw how for buying jewelry or gems and jewelry, so the raw gems, jewelry as such from Hong Kong, they had issued these letters of undertaking. So these letters of undertaking are actually, the bank, one bank taking an undertaking on behalf of Nirav Modi that payment would be done to another bank which is located in Hong Kong, in the Hong Kong branch as such. So these are used for hedging commodity price risks and freight risks, because freight charges are also there for this import taking place as such too into the country. So the commodity prices also may vary. So that's why the immediate transaction is taken place through the bank's involvement. And of course, this should be paid back. So that paying back was not happening in the case of Nirav Modi. They were having letters of undertaking of higher value, including the previous payment which was done included, and this was accumulating, the entire amount was being accumulated. So that was the fraud here. Then the last news item is EIB cautions India against levy of import duty on solar parks. So European Investment Bank President has cautioned India against slapping import and safeguard duties on solar components, because we have seen this has been in news for some time now. In Jan 2018, Directorate General of Safeguards had recommended implementation of 70% safeguard duty on solar cells imported from China and Malaysia for a period of 200 days. So this is still just a recommendation coming forth. The final decision on this has not taken place, but still it has created the furor in the industry, the solar industry, because if freight charges, if the safeguard duty is imposed as such on imports, it is said that more than 90% of our requirement is taken care of by imports. So if solar cells are imported and their prices increase, then it would result in solar energy becoming expensive, and the low tariffs which we are seeing in recent years, how the solar tariffs are going low, that would be reversed. Of course, the safeguard duty is to encourage the domestic industry. But here even European Investment Bank President is saying that every country should ensure free trade and multilateralism, because this is what will take forward. Protectionism is not going to last long, because this is going to affect, if you increase the safeguard duty, it is affecting your producers and your consumers as such too. They will have to pay higher price, and the government should invest in science, technology and innovation as well as education to ensure that they have better technology and lower rates, so that they can have advantages in trade rather than imposing and rather than using protectionist measures. So this is a caution from European Investment Bank President. So here these details are also provided. that how government is planning to even raise the import duties. So this will of course affect the tariffs, low tariffs which have been quoted by developers in the solar sector. Their calculations would go haywire. So if the tariffs are raised, if the safeguard duties are imposed, then solar sector would surely be affected. So these are the news items. Thank you.